We asked to meet here at the Holly Theater because this is in some ways the focus of what's going on with the JPR issues. Peter and I have sort of stepped back from them as much as we could until we felt things were not going in the right direction. And as a result of that, we've joined together here today to have a press conference to talk about the issues very quickly and what we want to see happen. The main thing we want to happen is that we have a cooling off period of about 60 days. Everyone steps back, we get the lorries out of the room, have a meaningful conversation by all the people involved. There's a lot going on here. It's a radio station. It's a great project. We're having to prevent here this jeopardy. And this can come back and actually start hurting SOU itself. There's a lot of donors who take great pride in the work they do with SOU and JPR. And some of them are getting a little nervous about what's going on. We need to keep them on board. We want them to be supportive of these great institutions. What we need now is a time to step back. We're going to ask the parties to come together and have a further discussion. We want the lawyers out of the picture for right now. They can come back in and dot the I's and cross the T's later, but we need a good solid discussion first before that happens. I think there's a win-win here for everybody. We don't have to have a situation where it's sort of a scorched earth policy and one organization gets hurt and one doesn't. We also want a mediation program that goes forward, or discussion that goes forward, without guns to anybody's head. We've talked to the governor's staff already. This idea of people being sued while they're on a board is going to go away. That is not going to be the issue here. We want people to stay on the board. We want them to have an opportunity to have a good discussion with JPR, with the Southern Oregon Foundation, with Southern University. We've seen success in this kind of a program, a huge success down in Reading. That institution down there has done well. Cascade Theater has been a thriving theater and has actually brought money into JPR. This can do the same thing. Holly Theater is not necessarily going to compete with any other theater in town. There's room for everybody. This is part of revitalizing downtown Medford. We don't want to walk away from all the work that's been done already. The money that's already been spent on streets, the mural money that's been done, and the start of this great project. We don't want to lose that. And I think we're in jeopardy of doing that if we don't step back and make this work. Peter?
Thanks, Bates. As Senator Bates mentioned, people that passionately support Southern Oregon University and JPR, and there's no reason why Southern Oregon University and JPR cannot both thrive, and they should both thrive together. We have no interest in seeing an adversarial relationship develop. When we push for mediation to begin with, when this process started with an audit, audits are fair. They're fair. They happen in government. That's what we do. We audit the expenditures of dollars. When we question the audit, there are documents that are done. Question what the content of the audit is, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. But the audit itself is fine. It raises some questions that need to be answered. It does not have to be a process that divides. It can be a process that clarifies, and that's what the intent of the audit is. So we're asking people to calm down on the situation, to step back, as Bates said. We put a call in, we talked to SOU and the governor's office. We're asking if it's possible to extend the contract that SOU and the JPR Foundation has. It expires June 30th. Extend it for a month. Give us some more time, or 2 months, whatever needs to take place. Give them more time for their discussions. We're also asking, I'd like to ask the JPR Foundation and SOU to consider lifting the confidentiality agreement on the settlement as it exists right now. We are public officials. We're talking about public entities, Jefferson Public Radio, Public University. We'd like to actually get out the details of what's being discussed so people can see what it is. And I think there's tremendous fear involved because, again, as Bates mentioned, you get attorneys involved, you get letters sent to people, they get frightened by what's in the letters. You know, that kind of stuff that should not be the framework of what we're working with. When the governor was here on Tuesday, Bates and I escorted him to several meetings that were all about collaboration. We went to the Maslow Project, that's all about collaboration, help homeless teens. Sustainable Valley Business Accelerator, collaboration. Everywhere we went, we were shown examples of Southern Oregon's ability to collaborate, to get things done. Right now, this situation has gone away from collaboration between the JPR Foundation and SOU. It's gone to an adversarial position. We need to step back and get back into collaboration. And that's what the mediation is intended to do. So again, very specifically, we're asking SOU to consider extending its contract with Foundation by some time here for at least 2 months. We're asking for the confidentiality agreement from both sides, if that can be lifted, so we can actually have a discussion on what all the pieces in play are. so they can be done in an open and collaborative manner between JPR Foundation and SOU. Everybody wants the same thing. We all want this project to thrive. We all want JPR as a radio network to thrive. We want Southern Oregon University to thrive. So we're here to say we're joining with Mayor Wheeler and Mayor Stromberg. Ashley made this statement. I think Senator White's staff is here. I talked to Senator Buckley staff today. So every level of government that's involved in this, or at least touches us in any way, is here willing to help, to sit down and help this process get done. Let's get it done in the right way. Let's get it done in the way that Southern Oregon does things. So with that, we'll take questions. Anybody has it?
I'll ask a question because I am worried. Ron Kramer was terminated even before mediation ever started. And I think that needs to be taken a look at too. He's an integral part of this. He should be in the discussions. And if he's out, he can't enter into the discussion. So I think they need to rethink the termination of Ron at this point, at least for the interim period. I don't want to put you guys on the spot for that, but I think that's...
We'll need his expertise. He understands JPR probably better than anybody else does. And he needs to be there having that discussion, helping bring his knowledge to the fore. Whether his position is going to be one of a board member on one side or a chair on one side or the other, I'm not going to speak to now. That's something that should be discussed. That's part of the collaboration that Peter's been talking about. But he needs to be at the table.
Absolutely. And I know it's hard because this guy's getting 25 years of his life and so much passion and energy into it. But we have to ask Ron for patience. We have to ask the JPR Foundation Board for patience. We're asking the board not to resign tomorrow or do anything that draws a line in the sand. We're asking the SOU not to draw lines in the sand. Ron's appointment staff at SOU has got to be part of the discussion. That can't get changed in 2 minutes, but it should be part, what Ron's role is, needs to be defined as part of this discussion in a way that's beneficial, it's positive for him and for all concerned. Good.
Ryan File, Mail Tribune. I had a couple of questions for you, actually. When are you going to hear back from the governor's office about whether that contract will be extended by a month or two?
You know, I talked to the SOU's president's office today. They are currently in discussions right now with the governor's office and the chancellor's office to see what is possible to be done in terms of lifting the confidentiality part of the mediation. Can that be done within the next 24 hours? So that can be discussed, and can the contract be extended? So we hope to hear back today on the
today. I'm getting the same answers, and I've probably called 10, 50 different people, and the same ones you've called, and we expect an answer within 24 hours. The governor's probably going to make a public announcement tomorrow sometime. But we haven't got a final answer on that, but it does need to be extended. I'm hoping for a full 2 months. We have a long enough time to make a discussion that's meaningful out of it. And the other part of it is opening up that agreement and seeing which really is. There's a lot of rumors about it, a lot of questions about it. There's concerns about FCC licenses being lost or opened up for a public process which they might be lost. I just think we've got some of the wrong people making the decisions here. We need to open this thing up and get it done.
And I just had one more question. We've actually heard rumblings that a couple of people that are involved with OPB somehow in some capacity actually went to the Oregon University system and encouraged this audit in the first place. Can you speak to that? Or?
I don't have direct knowledge of it. I've heard the same types of rumors. We start looking at these things that might be behind the scenes. I think you run into just going down a rabbit hole you'll never get out of. What we need to do is deal with what we have before us right now. We've got a very serious situation. It doesn't have to go forward the way it is. We can change it over the next couple of months and have a win-win for everybody. And I don't want to get started about who said, about what, when, and where. We need to move forward right now to make this thing work right for Southern Oregon.
Yeah, I just typically blame Bates for anything that goes wrong. So I usually think the audit was probably his idea. I totally agree with the senator. To go down that way, I think it's just impossible. Audits we go through audits all the time in the budget process that we're both part of. I mean, it's constant. The Secretary of State's office does audits all the time for every agency. This is not uncommon for there to be an audit. And the complexity of which assets belong to which entity and the different scenarios that can develop, at least it's have to be thought through. I mean, again, it's nothing that the JPR Foundation hasn't done in the past, or the university system hasn't done in the past. So our conclusion is, let's do it. Let's get it done in a way that clarifies which assets belong to which entity, how this is going to play out, where the risk is, if any risk, how the liability will play out, and do it in a way that's respectful, do it in a way, as Bates said, it's a win-win for both sides.
You remember in that audit, there was nothing found that was wrong, okay? There were questions about who got responsible for what, who owns what.
Correct.
There were questions about conflict of interest, but no one said anybody did anything wrong. We get audits like that all the time. We try to work through them. They're helpful for us in forming legislation and setting up budgets. But nobody did anything wrong in that audit that I saw or heard, okay? It was more about concerns what might happen in the future. And on the basis of what might happen in the future, we've managed to blow this whole thing up, which is not what that audit was intended to do. And I think people just overreacted to it. It's now time to step back, cooler heads prevail, have a long discussion the next couple of months, and come up with a plan that works. It can't be that hard to do.
What about the FCC? Is there some way to separate fact from fiction when it comes to what really is their goal in this issue?
In my conversation with vast and small numbers, and I am not an expert on health person, so that's different. Okay?
Don't get us
I know
started.
just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Part of the next 2 months, part of that discussion, we talk to people who have expertise in working with the FCC, so you are very clear about what your process is when you start moving licenses around, and don't open them up to being lost or open them up to the public bidding or something of that nature happening. You don't want that to happen. You want to keep things where they're at, so well as well. It's a complex system in Southern Northern California, set up all these transponders all over the place with different ownership of land. I'm sure there's all kinds of complications there. You do not want to be in a situation where you open that can of worms up unless you have some real expertise there at the table about how those things work. And I think we can get that expertise, and they can then give suggestions and help the people actually.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm on the JPR board, and I just wanted to say as a board member, what I do, my duty is to be a volunteer in this community. And I've served on several commissions, committees, and boards to help my local community. And what's happened now with this whole litigation, you can just imagine how that makes me feel as a volunteer. I mean, that's the hallmark of our country, and more importantly to our local community on how we get involved. My board members all have integrity, and we've all used due diligence when we do anything on board meeting. And when this lawsuit came across to the individuals on that board, you can just imagine how that makes me feel. And imagine setting a dangerous precedent for others to want to get involved throughout our state, to join other boards and organizations as volunteers. So I just wanted to make that statement, and I agree with you to say, lawyers, you need to step out of this and let us come back and try to collaborate and come up with a resolution that we work with other parties.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, and just again, there is no lawsuit. We are, the governor certainly has no intention. The U.S. system has no intention. Lawyers say things. They get paid to say things, and they write letters. And we can bash them all we want to, but that's what they do. So I think we need to remove it from that realm and get into the realm of how to get this accomplished.
And lawyers do say things. They also take directions from their clients. Their clients say, don't do this, they're not going to do it. And I think they're getting pretty clear directions. I think Miller Nash gets pretty clear directions that this is not going to be part of the discussion of threatening people on boards. It's hard enough to serve on the board, and thank you for your service. You know, it's nights and weekends, it's time away from your family for zero pay. It's a backbone of what we do in Oregon. We have multiple boards people serve on, school boards, and else you can think of it. Everyone is now going to be threatened by attorneys suing them. That system will fall apart, and why wouldn't it? People can get insurance for those things, but if you start getting the realm of people doing the best they can, being honest folks, using the best judgment, and then have to face a lawsuit, not appropriate. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
I'm here for NPR rating Chico, and our concern is if it goes bad tomorrow, is the Cascade going to stay open? You know, I mean, because that's in our territory.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think anybody has any intention of it. The Cascade's a great success story, and I think that everyone's going to do everything they can. Again, we're asking the board, we're asking the board for some patience. You know, don't resign tomorrow. No lines in the sand is what we're asking for. And I think if people are willing to step back and say no lines in the sand, you know, we'll try to work with SEU, we'll try to work with the university system and the governor's office and the foundation, but no one wants to threaten what's successful, what's going on in Reading, and no one wants to threaten this. I mean, this is something that we want very badly here.
And Reading is a good example of how a collaboration between a radio station, JPR, and this foundation can do a great thing for our community. We've got a wonderful theater down there. It actually becomes a revenue stream for JPR. We should be able to do the same thing here in our own hometown. I mean, there's absolutely no reason we can't do this. So what your success has been there should be our success here. And blowing that up with what we're doing here is the wrong thing to do. So we want to maintain that relationship with you. We want to keep you going down there. I don't see any reason for that to end.
What kind of the newspaper stories here in Harrison, we're kind of worried about that.
Sure. Hey, we can understand. It'd be reasonable. It'd be unreasonable if you weren't concerned.
That's another reason we're asking everyone just kind of step back, take a deep breath. You know, no sudden moves. No sudden moves. All right. Well, thank you all. Appreciate you being here and listening to us. And again, we wish SOU and JPR the best of good luck on this to get done. And we stand ready to work with any parties to help any way that we can. I know the Senators White and Merkley will also be helpful. And the governor definitely wants to get this resolved in a positive way as well.
I have not talked to anybody in this in the last 24 hours. Didn't say let's step back for 60 days. Not a single person has said go forward. So I think we're going to have a breathing time here and a chance to get this under control. Peter, I want to thank you. I know you've got something you got to get to already. Thanks. I asked for the press conference to ask you to come.
You bet. You bet.
I know we got to keep going.
Yep.
Thanks. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Could you get both of their names?
Making some of the decisions, do you think this ought to be a more locally driven decision?
Yes. Yeah. It affects this community so strongly that I like to see the boards come together and then talk to us about it.